O Lord of hosts, be with us, for we have none other help in times of adversity but Thee. O Lord of hosts, have mercy on us.
Welcome back, everyone. This is David Patrick Carey with Church of the Eternal Logos, and today I want to continue and build upon our video yesterday by discussing the Hermetic text, the Prayer of Thanksgiving. This is the closing epilogue prayer to our video yesterday, which was on the Discourse of the 8th and 9th, a very unique and less known Hermetic text about sort of spiritual ascension and regeneration through the various spheres back to God. Specifically the 8th sphere, the sphere of the soul, and then the 9th sphere, the sphere of the divine mind. So in today's video, I just want to discuss a prayer that is actually connected to that text, in which it closes the sort of ritualistic liturgical initiation, which I talked about that text being. So maybe if you didn't catch yesterday's video, you might want to check that out, although you don't necessarily have to see that to understand what's going to be going on in this video. And so what I want to talk to you guys about is this closing prayer and just highlight a few things. And so this video should not be very long at all. This prayer is barely 2 pages long. And so this prayer, like the text yesterday, the Discourse on the 8th and 9th, is believed to be from the 2nd century. This prayer was used in a multitude of ways. They found it connected to the text Asclepius, as I mentioned, another dialogue within the Corpus Hermeticum between Hermes and his student Asclepius. Yesterday, Discourse on the 8th and 9th was between Hermes and his disciple, unknown name, but just referred to as child or my son. So this prayer is also believed to be from the 2nd century. It serves as the conclusion, like I said, to the Discourse on the 8th and 9th, as well as the Asclepius. So both these text within the Corpus Hermeticum close with the prayer that we're going to read today. And the actual Coptic version of the prayer we're going to read today had 2 liturgical, rubrics on the side of the prayer to discuss how it was used, because so the efficacy of this prayer was used in a multitude of ways, but as you'll see, it's most easily associated with the Discourse on the 8th and 9th, because this prayer is really about a sort of thanksgiving for the regenerative, the ascending, the illuminative, Gnostic sort of process that we discussed yesterday. This prayer is then giving thanks to the one, a sort of Neoplatonic understanding of God. So that's that. It emphasizes the 3 gifts, which was discussed yesterday in our text: the mind, word, and knowledge. And so we're going to see this. This is going to be true with most Hermeticism, and this is going to be a obvious contrasting point with Orthodox Christianity or Christianity in general. We don't see anything in regards to even this prayer, which is a condolence, a thankfulness for to God for knowledge. Really, is the whole thing. But you're not going to see grace. You're not going to see mercy. You're not going to see love. You're not going to see a lot of the traditional things that Christianity is going to emphasize at times, certainly over the privileging of knowledge. And so this text is going to be all about mind. It's going to be about word leading mind to truth, and then truth being able to be received by the mind, and then this is the process of knowledge. And so it's mind, word, knowledge, or word, mind, knowledge. That's what this whole thing is about. And there's a couple paragraphs here that I actually want to read to you guys, talking about how knowledge within this Hermetic framework actually divinizes the individual. And so, as we will see yesterday in the Discourse on the 8th and 9th, humanity was portrayed as being androgynous, being both male and female, and then it produced its offspring, and then that offspring eventually became what we know now as male and female, or the separation of this kind of androgynous state. We're going to see this again being portrayed in regards to God. And I think this is another important point of contrast between Christianity, and we're going to see with the sort of Hermetic, Neoplatonic, pagan, Egyptian elements, is the attempt to resolve the dialectical tension is to resort everything to a one, which obviously, if you're talking about gender and sexuality, is going to be done by androgyny. And we're going to see that, we saw it yesterday with humanity. Now we're going to see it in the prayer today, referring to God. God is now androgynous. God has both male and female genitalia, which doesn't really collapse the dialectic like they think, and also definitively gives God cataphatic descriptions, cataphatic categories, that God has a womb and God has a phallus. This is going to be mentioned in our prayer today. So things that we wouldn't agree with at all, but you see these tropes over and over and over in regards to kind of androgyny, in regards to goddess worship traditions. You're seeing it here in Hermeticism. And I think that given the presuppositions, this could be why we're seeing it in society generally in regards to transgenderism, stuff like that, because a lot of these ideas of emanationism, God being a simple one, usually referred to the universe, vegetarianism. This is also, we're going to see in our prayer today, that they close the liturgical service with a kiss and a meal, and that meal is a vegetarian meal. We see that with Pythagoras. We see this with a lot of different religious groups. Not true with Orthodoxy. Though Orthodoxy may fast and do away with meat, as it is doing right now for Lent, it is not a vegetarian tradition. It does that not because they disagree with factory farming or something like that, or that you can't eat meat. This is not the case for Christianity. In fact, there's a great video between Jay Dyer and Father Deacon Ananias, Norwegian News, talking about vegetarianism, carnivore diet, and orthodoxy. So I highly recommend you guys checking that out. So this would be another point of contention, is the sort of vegetarian sentiments we see in Pythagoreanism. We see it here in Hermeticism as well. And again, you look at paganism, look at India, look at the New Age kind of progressive culture also pushing these same things. And so with that being said, I want to talk about, okay, so there's a few paragraphs here that I want to highlight. The structure of this prayer goes as follows. There's the narrative introduction, then there's the invocation of the divine name, then the enumeration of the divine gifts, which I've already highlighted. The divine gifts are mind, word, knowledge, and then the divinizing effects of knowledge, because it's through knowledge that we become immortal, that we become divinized. This is going to be a consistent theme also within Gnosticism, though Gnosticism is going to have way more Christian elements infused into it than just the Hermetic text, yesterday discourse on the 8th and 9th, or the Hermetic prayer, prayer of the Thanksgiving, which we're going to read in this video. And then revelation of the divine essence, light and life, father and mother, right? We talked about these attempts to sort of collapse these dialectics always revolves in sort of a mother-father thing, or in this case, the mother-father is really the sort of split ontology of God himself, which is both male and female in one. So this is how they're trying to collapse that dialectic. And then the final request to be preserved in knowledge. This is going to end our prayer. And then the liturgical rubric calls for a ritual kiss and then a sacred meal, which is a vegetarian meal. Now, before we dive into the prayer, again, it's not very long. It's going to go by like that. I just want to highlight some commentary from scholars regarding this prayer and how should we understand this emphasis on mind and word and knowledge, and then the androgyny of God. So that's what I want to read real quickly. And the first thing that I want to say is the central part of the prayer of thanksgiving, the three gifts of mind, word, and knowledge seem to be granted simultaneously. We know, however, from other Hermetic writings that these three fulfill successive functions on the way of immortality. For example, word or discourse and mind share the task among themselves as follows. Discourse does not get to the truth, but mind is powerful, and when it has been guided by the discourse up to a certain point of the road, it has the means to get as far as the truth. After mind is included, everything in an all-embracing glance and has discovered that all of it is in harmony with the interpretation of the discourse it comes to believe, and in this beautiful belief it finds its rest. This is from the Corpus Hermeticum, section 9. So that is on that, and then it goes into knowledge, next paragraph, as the goal of learning cannot possibly be a once-for-all fixed science. Rather, knowledge consists in gradually becoming aware of transcendent truth by crossing in some way the sill of a portal. Knowledge is a fervent search for the absolute, kindled with piety, a radical shift from ignorant lack of concern for religion to the firm conviction that God exists and wishes to be known. Thus, knowledge is not a beginning of the good, but it provides us with means of beginning to know it. And significantly enough, in the Coptic version of the prayer, the Coptic verb suun appears as a translation not of the Greek gignoskein, to know, with an absolute meaning, but of epigignoskein, to find out, to discover, to gain knowledge gradually, to become acquainted with. Knowledge divinizes human beings not by itself alone, but jointly with word and mind, which both remain indispensable to cover the way of immortality up to its end. For this is the final good for those who have received knowledge, to be made gods. Such a knowledge produces an ecstatic joy, which our text expresses by repeating thrice, "We are happy, we rejoice," and 4 times, "We have known you." And then in regards to the androgyny of God, I thought this was interesting and just was worth noting. We should not be surprised by the realism of the sexual metaphors depicting the Divine Father as endowed with male and female genitals, so that he never stops impregnating his own womb in order to fill up the universe with new creatures. In a manner reflective of traditional Egyptian sources, the Hermetic author regards sexual intercourse as a, quote, marvelous image, apt to arouse spiritual contemplation of the divine essence. In fact, carnal generation is but a symbol of the ineffable. The male and female Hermetic God is not only a phallus in a womb, but also light of mind and light of life. This is, in Greek, phos, a male principle, and zoe, a female principle, both of which God conveys to his most perfect creature, the primordial human, who is in his image, both male and female, like his Father. So God is androgynous, the original male and female, also androgynous. Eventually, when man and woman were separated from each other, the first earthly man was phos, father, or either light or mortal, depending on the accent, and the first woman was Zoe, the life or Eve, according to the Septuagint version of Genesis 4:20. Conceiving God as the source of Phos and Zoe means having an intuition of or an even mystical vision of the first human couple just realized from God's hand, endowed with divine likeness and perfect knowledge of their Creator. And then the last paragraph that I wanted to highlight says, since the prayer of thanksgiving sums up in a vividly lyrical form the whole experience of mental progress and the successive steps to the Hermetic ascent to heavenly immortality, it could rightly be thought to provide an excellent conclusion to the last stage of initiation described in the Discourse on the 8th and 9th. In addition, immediately after the liturgical rebirth, it would allow the newly born again child of Trismegistus to be immersed in the community ritual of a fraternal banquet. And so that really covers what we're going to be talking about here, is that the Discourse on the 8th and 9th yesterday was all about a sort of initiative rebirth into the Hermetic mysteries. And then this prayer would then be closing that initiation, that ritualistic liturgical process. And then they would conclude it with this prayer and then a banquet, and that's where the vegetarian meal would come in. So with all that being said, now I'm just going to read the prayer. And it reads, "The prayer of thanksgiving. This is the prayer they offered. We thank you. Every soul and heart reaches out to you, O name free of trouble, honored with the designation God, praised with the designation Father. To all in all things come fatherly kindness and affection and love. And if there is sweet and simple instruction, it grants us mind, word, and knowledge. Mind that we may understand you, word that we may interpret you, knowledge that we may know you. We are happy, enlightened by your knowledge. We are happy. You have taught us about yourself. We are happy. While we were in the body, you have made us divine through your knowledge. The thanksgiving of one approaching you is this alone, that we know you, we have known you, light of mind, light of life, we have known you, womb of every creature, we have known you, womb pregnant with the Father's nature, we have known you, eternal constancy of the Father who conceives. So have we worshipped your goodness. One favor we ask, we wish to be sustained in knowledge. One protection we desire, that we not stumble in this life. When they prayed and said these things, they embraced and went to eat their sacred bloodless food. Copyist note, I have copied this one of his discourses, a great many who have come into my hands, but I have not copied them because I thought they were already in your possession. I even hesitate to copy these things for you, since perhaps you may already have received them, and they in the matter may annoy you, for that person's discourses that have come into my hands are many. So that's just like a footnote there, a copyist note, whoever actually copied this original Coptic version that we found. So that is the prayer of thanksgiving. I just wanted to connect that with our video yesterday on the discourse on the 8th and 9th. Most people actually aren't aware of that text, and so that was the whole point of this video, is to share those ideas. That concludes the sort of hermetic videos I wanted to make on the discourse on the 8th and 9th, and then the prayer of thanksgiving. And so the next video will be on a different topic, but let me know what you guys think of this prayer. Let me know what you guys think of yesterday's video as well, the discourse on the 8th and 9th, both of which are hermetic texts found in the Nag Hammadi library, which was discovered in Nag Hammadi, Egypt in 1945. So let me know what you guys think. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and subscribe this video. If you could, please share it. That always helps more than anything. But please leave comments, and I will respond to everybody that I can. So thank you guys for everything. This concludes our video on the prayer of thanksgiving. And as always, until next time, God bless.